Yorkshireman George Boole wrote The Law of Thought in 1854. The term law is compelling, and the law itself has survived unchallenged for 250 years, becoming the backbone of modern electronic technology. Surprisingly, it has an antecedent, the I Ching, of which this symbol is one of 64. Further, Tibetans 1,000 years ago had adopted a similar form of logic in their debating format. What follows is the detail. The number on the screen is 4,500 years old and uses the same binary logical system as AI. It works like this. Every line has a weighting: 1, 2, 4, 8, 16 and 32. A broken line represents a yes, and an unbroken one represents a no. So the number on the screen is 1 plus 16 plus 32, which is 49. The first 8 binary numbers represented with a hexagram like this are 1, 2, 3, which is 2 plus 1, 4, 5, which is 4 plus 1, 6, which is 4 plus 2, and 7, which is 4 plus 2 plus 1. AI also uses a binary number system based on yes or no. 1 for yes, 0 for no. It's easiest if we put the ones on this table first. So once again, we've got the first 8 numbers. 1 times 1 is equal to 1. 2 times 1 is equal to 2. 2 times 1 plus 1 times 1 is equal to 3. 4 times 1 is equal to 4. 4 times 1 plus 1 times 1 is 5. 4 times 1 plus 2 times 1 is 6, and 4 plus 2 plus 1 is equal to 7. All that remains to be done now is to put in the zeros. What we have now is not only a number system, but a truth table, where 1 is equal to yes and 0 is equal to no. If the top row is replaced by the letters C, B, A and Z, we have the capacity to turn the list into an AND truth table, where A and B and C must be true for the outcome Z to be true. To test it, we can use a romantic example. He and she work in the same organisation. She in HR, he nerdy and shy in IT. They meet at an office function and exchange phone numbers, and he asks, can he give her a call? The 3 criteria, A, B and C, must be true before the outcome is true. So for A, he must have the courage to ring. For B, she needs to be home. For C, she needs to say yes. For the outcome to be met, all of those criteria need to be met. So the last row in column Z gives the answer 1. and they get to go out. AI uses the inverse of the AND function for every single operation. So let's have a look at the NAND gate, the opposite of the AND. The most straightforward way to construct a NAND function is to construct the AND first and invert the Z column. Here we go. Here's our AND. We have the two variables, B and A, and outcome Z, and then the first four counting numbers, 0 to 3, go in the first two columns. So we've got 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. And B and A both have to be true, which is the last row before Z is true. So that's a 1, and these are not true. Now the NAND is all the same as we set it up. So we've got B, A and Z, and the counting numbers are the same, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. But the Z column is not. It's a NAND, not AND. So whatever happens here will be the inverse on this side. So if that's a 0, this has got to be a 1. In other words, not 0. This is not 0 either. It's a 1. This is not 0. It's a 1. Now this is a 1, so the contrary point here is that needs to be a 0. And we're done. This is the star of the show. Every logical thought of which the human mind is capable can be represented by a series of NAND gates. We'll use Excel to demonstrate that. Here's what's available on Excel. Of the 7 logical functions that we all use, the first 3 are AND, OR, and exclusive OR. We can think about these by considering a mother's reply when her child asks for a drink and an ice cream. His mum might sensibly respond, "You can have a drink or an ice cream." This will be perfectly clear to the child, but mum didn't explicitly rule out the option of both. For explicit refusal, the exclusive OR needs to be used. You can have a drink or an ice cream, but not both. Then there's a NOT function that inverts the above 3, making 7 in all. This may seem very unfamiliar, but in fact it's the way we all think, and we do that very well. All the functions can be made from NANDs. For example, here's an OR function made from 3 NANDs. First look at the 3 NANDs, red, green and blue. The associated rectangles are also 3 NANDs, programmed into Excel to produce an OR function. On the right is a vacant truth table. To be correct for OR, the 3 programmed inputs must produce 0, 1, 1, 1 in the Z column. So here we go. For anything to be intelligent, it must have a memory, and AI has plenty. They're all in the form of a cross-coupled latch using NAND gates. In this configuration, a number, a 0 or 1, placed on S will be remembered by Q until it's reset by R. In the 1970s, a digital IC was this size and it had 4 NAND gates, so enough for 2 cross-coupled latches. In this period also, printed circuit boards were very large like this, so it took a long time for electrons to run along the track from one end to the other, slowing down crunch time dramatically. So they were all crushed. 10 years ago, the iPhone 6S had 128 billion NAND gates in about 7 cubic centimetres. Currently, Nvidia stores 37 trillion NAND gates in 1 cubic centimetre. This has presented AI data centres with a dual problem: massive power consumption, causing heat, and gluttonous water consumption to cool it all down. Pondering the purpose of this massive shift in the allocation of human resources brings us to ponder what Tibetan debaters might be doing with the NAND function. These are the 5 Venn-type diagrams Tibetans use in their very animated debate form. Think first of the drink and the ice cream problem. A is the drink, B is the ice cream, and the shaded area in the middle is the exclusion of both. Without much trouble, that diagram can also be converted to a NAND, where we have A and B, and in the middle we have not A and not B, or the NAND function. No Excel spreadsheet or much thought required. The amazing thing is that Tibetans upscale their mind by remembering the outline of a text like this in the time it takes for them to throw a leg over a horse. The topic of the debate is another incredible thing: whether the I, the merely imputed I, has any inherent existence. In other words, the debate is on the concept of the true nature of reality. So far in this series, the discussion has centred around the lack of inherent existence in the outside universe. Matter is almost entirely space. Particles are wave-like. Time is a stubbornly persistent illusion. Gravity is a curvature in space-time. In 2015, Terence John Murphy died on the operating table in the Gold Coast Hospital. He was dead for 20 minutes, but lived to relate his tale. He was able to do this in terms of Tibetan Buddhism. So here he is to tell it again.
As the wardsman was pushing the gurney, I travelled no more than a metre or maybe 2 metres at the most, and instantaneously the roof of the emergency ward disappeared, and I was instantaneously in this golden region of light, beautiful, unconditionally loving, divine peace and ecstasy. There was no thought there was no point of reference, there was no I, there was no nothing, just the pure experience of unprecedented bliss and absolute ecstasy. unbelievable. It was timeless and infinite space, and it was infinite but no space. It was just something that was beyond any earthly description. And then there was no me there thinking. There was no thought, not a single thought. It was just absolute pure awareness, pure unmitigated awareness. And it was absolutely the most marvellous experience that had ever been, that I'd never known in my life. It was just unbelievable. And that's where it came to the point where I began my search to find out what the hell happened to me. And it took me years. It's taken me 10 years of searching and searching, trying to find what happened and an explanation of why that happened and what it all meant. Why was I back? Why was I back? Why did this happen to me? What was it all about? And that's when I came across Roger Johnson's book. Now, this book answered quite a few of the questions that I have and still had. One of the things this book did for me was to highlight the fact that there was a right view and a wrong view, or putting it another way, a correct view and an incorrect view, an absolute truth and relative truths. So I saw this dichotomy in this book, and I realised that I had to understand more and more about what was this right view, what did this right view really mean, and what did the wrong view mean. Exactly what does having a wrong view mean?